What happens when you get addicted to alcohol? Let's find out. You pour the first glass like a promise. Just one, you tell yourself. It feels warm in your hand. Warmth slides down your throat. The room loosens. The edges blur. You laugh easier. You forget faster. You become the person who can take the world off your shoulders for a night. It's a ritual. It's a reward. It's your little secret. You convince yourself you're in control. You schedule relief like an appointment. Weekend dinner celebration. You learn the math of comfort. One drink becomes two. Two becomes a habit. You memorize the route to the bottle. It's quieter there. No one asks the hard questions. No one watches the slow burn. You keep receipts of normalcy. You're still functioning. You make the trains. You keep the job. You call it stress management. You call it social. You call it deserved. You call it coping. You tell yourself you can stop. And you mean it until the next night. The nights begin to multiply. Your promise phrase. You wake with a calendar of regret. There are gaps, there are lies. You tell yourself the truth in soft ways. You say you'll cut back. You mean it for a day. You mean it for a meeting. But the craving is a shadow that follows you to the coffee machine. You notice the time between drinks shrinking. You notice tolerance building like armor. You need more to feel the same surrender. The bottle is no longer a treat. It is a tool. It's a lever you pull to tilt the world. You maneuver conversations to make room for drinking. You stage small exits. You hide empty bottles in corners that your heart knows. Your morning mouth tastes like failure. You apologize to yourself in the shower. You ration promises like currency. You invent new rules and then break them at midnight. You bargain with your future. It doesn't answer. Dependence arrives with a quiet knock. It does not always arrive with handcuffs. It arrives as necessity. You start measuring your day in sips and hours. You plan errands around when you can have a drink. You call sick days mental health days and raise a glass to that phrase alone. Your choices narrow. Friends notice a change in tempo. They ask if you're okay. You say you're fine. Your hands tremble when there's no alcohol. You wake inside a fog and reach for the cord that will pull you through it. You promise to stop in the morning. Morning becomes a distant shore you never reach. Your body recalibrates to need. You feel shame bloom at the base of your skull. Shame and rationalization have intimate conversations. You become excellent at excuses. You become private about private pain. You study the anatomy of craving. It fits too comfortably. It sits on your chest like someone waiting for money. Consequences begin to write themselves in bold. Your relationships collect cracks. Simple questions become landmines. You snap, you withdraw, you apologize and apologize again. Trust grows thin like old glass. Work becomes a performance art of concealment. You call in sick more often. You show up late, unsteady. Your boss frowns with the sympathy of someone who's watched a good thing fray. Money leaks. You pay more in late fees than you do on dinners. Health whispers warnings in small, insistent ways. You ignore them. You joke them away. You think you're the only one who can hold your world together. But pieces fall. Your sleep becomes brittle. Your memory misplaces days like lost keys. You wake to texts you can't explain. You read messages that feel like evidence. You hide your face from the mirror because you know you will see the person you're becoming. Rock bottom is not dramatic. It arrives like a quiet collapse. You miss an important meeting. You hurt someone you love. You wake on the floor and don't remember getting there. The walls close in with businesslike precision. You count the losses. You count the small humiliations. You trace the map of each bad night back to the first glass. You taste metal and regret. You stand in fluorescent light and ask yourself questions you've been avoiding. Do I want this life? When you can no longer argue with the evidence, denial looks small. You notice the thinness of your options. You have a moment that feels like a hinge. Either you keep building the house around the same cracked foundation, or you pull it down and build again. The choice feels impossible. It feels like surrender. But it is the first honest thing you have done in a long time. You reach for help like you reach for an anchor. Asking is terrifying. You imagine everyone's judgment. You imagine failure. You imagine both, and still you ask. You call a number. You sit in a room that smells of coffee and second chances. You say aloud the words you've been whispering in the dark. You hear others say the same words. They sound less isolating when they are not your secret anymore. You learn structure. You learn small rituals that do not rely on a bottle. You replace the glass with a meeting. You replace the nightcap with a breath. Some days are thin. Some nights call your name like a bell. You falter. You get back up. Relapse may come. It is a teacher, not a verdict. You learn to treat lapses as warnings, not endpoints. You start building vocabulary for feelings beyond numbing. You meet your shame with curiosity. You practice forgiveness like it's an instrument you must learn to play. Recovery is not a finish line. It is a reconstruction project. You hold a sledgehammer to old habits. You put new nails in fragile places. You learn to sleep without the fog. You rebuild trust by being reliably present. You practice small, honest acts. You show up on time. You call when you say you will. You apologize and stay changed. You watch relationships knit slowly. You watch yourself return in pieces and then as a whole. Temptation does not vanish. It becomes part of the landscape. You learn roots around it. You cultivate new pleasures, simple, clear. A sunrise without haze. A conversation without distance. A meal you remember. You tell your story to someone who needs to hear it. You do not romanticize suffering. You honor the survival. You understand that addiction is not moral failure alone. It is a condition. It is a reaction. It is a thing to be treated with courage and care. You remain vigilant. You celebrate days. You mark milestones not as trophies, but as proof. Proof that change is possible. Proof that identity can shift. Proof that the voice that used to reach for the bottle can learn to ask for help. You are not your worst night. You are not the sum of your relapses. You are the person who keeps choosing, again and again, to stand up. You are capable of fracture and repair. You are allowed to be both fragile and brave. The bottle will always have a history with you. You will always carry the map of where it took you. But you also carry the map of where you decided to leave it behind. Hold that map. Walk by it. One sober step at a time.